What's up, nerds? Z Money here. It is time for the second iteration of the 2133 version of your stepmom's favorite YouTube series, Zachetology. We're going to cover what happened in the first round. In case you're a loser who didn't watch the live stream, there's only 10 people. Get out of here. Or you can come here for the predictions where, just like how I had a 100% hit rate in the first round, I'm going to factually predict why your team is going to lose in 24 hours or whenever the hell this thing runs. So without further ado, let's get into it. We'll do the recap first. I'm going to just throw a new little piece on the recap segment here, call out some playoff MVPs for every series that I thought were the difference makers. We'll start with the Grizzlies versus the Thunder. So the Thunder got ousted by the Grizz. I thought the Thunder were going to put up a pretty good fight. They did not put up a fantastic fight. I was really disappointed in Mac Pappas. I thought he was going to do a better job shutting down whoever he got matched up against, which in this case happened to be Brian Arroyo. But he failed to do so, and that is why Brian Arroyo is going to be taking home the series MVP for the Grizzlies versus Thunder. The man scored 33 points on 72% true shooting. It's almost like he was that's numbers significantly better than his regular season numbers. So I think it's safe to say Mac Pappas is a net negative defender. He got absolutely cooked. Shame to see. Yeah, I was hoping for a little more drama in this series, but I still think the Grizz were going to win no matter what. So that's that. Next, the Nuggets versus the Suns, maybe the most dramatic series. In fact, probably the most dramatic series. This one had quite the plot twist with the Nuggets starting with a 3-0 lead, at which point the Suns had an injury to Happy Gilmore who broke his arm, and the then positional realignment of their starting squad, moving Jason Love to point guard, changed everything for the Suns, who went on to win 4 in a row, including an extremely dramatic Game 4, an extremely dramatic Game 7, where, yeah, they just went and won 4 in a row against the Nuggets. So Evan, is it bad luck? Is he unclutch? Is Caleb Westmoreland a bad defender? We will never know. But without any question, Jason Love wins the series MVP in this one. Although his numbers were not insane from an efficiency standpoint, he scored 39 points a game. So when you score 39 points a game, you're probably getting the MVP. Yeah, so Suns move on to face Adam. That matchup we will cover in a moment. Next, we had the Spurs versus the Rockets. This one, you could tell about 4 games in, was destined for 7. These teams were perfectly matched for each other. It was really a case of Cameron Turner attempting to carry what was a pretty bad team outside of Steve Rogers against the Rockets, who were playing pretty well-balanced ball. Arden Justice did pretty good. Caldwell was like an efficient bench guy. T'Challa scored some good points. This was super back and forth. Series MVP for this one goes to the losing side, Cameron Turner. The man was nuts. He scored about 37 points per game on 70% true shooting. It's a shame Mantis can't put a good team around him because he is so good that it just seems like it shouldn't be that hard to win a ring. I guess Steve Rogers is a nice piece. But the Rockets, Bryant the Unkillable, move on. Lastly, in the West, Sonics versus the Blazers. This was a weird series. Nobody played well. Both teams, I think this was more of a defensive struggle. Not a slugfest, more of a defensive struggle. Most notably, Damon Vogler averaged 16 points per game. He was not interested in playing offense, although it did appear that the Sonics played defense, holding the Blazers to under 80 twice, including a quite dramatic 60-point blowout in Seattle. Yeah, the MVP of this series is a bit of an unexpected one. Andrew Hunter, coming off for the bench for the Sonics, scoring only 17 points per game, but doing so on almost 70% true shooting. When you look at the efficiency splits between the Sonics and the Blazers, the starters were quite evenly matched. The Sonics held the slimmest of edges, but when the bench units came out, there was a wide difference. I noted that the Blazers did not have a bench in the first round breakdown. That is confirmed with the statistics from this series. So they will, Sonics and Rockets, Zach versus Bryant. There's been quite a few matchups between these two, us two, whatever. We'll get to that matchup in a second. Now out east, there was really no drama in the East. The Raptors smoked the Magic. Adam Hilton is amazing. He wins series MVP. The Magic looked better than expected. I should give this series a little more coverage than the others because Ken did find a way to keep Ivan Miller on the court for the most part. He had an unbelievable series. It was not enough to keep his team, through the first round. I just can't speak right there. But his stats were fantastic. I'm going to pull him up really quick so I can give him the shine he deserves. Ivan Miller averaged 31 points on 65% true shooting. That is fantastic. He did average almost 4 fouls a game, and that did come back to hurt him. There was a game where he only played 16 minutes. That's what you can't have in the playoffs. But the Raptors were a better team, so this is not surprising. Marco moves on to sweat it out against the Celtics, who won against the Heat 4-0. This was very much business as usual. The Celtics didn't win by a huge margin, but the Heat were a terrible team. In a weird way, I feel like Alex overperformed, and this might have been interesting with Jesus, but Jesus was injured. The Heat didn't play any close games. They were basically just losing by 10 to 15 every time. Except for the last game, I think the Celtics only won by 3. But anyways, pretty much business as usual. I don't know if Cade or Clint Cochran did better this series. I didn't pay a ton of attention to. I like Cochran more as a player. We'll give Clint Cochran the series MVP in this one. Cavs versus Wizards. The Cavs are color bait. They're not a good team. There's really nothing else to say. The Wizards absolutely smoked them. Let's see. The closest game was a 9-point victory for the Wizards. They won every single other one by at least 20 points, it looks like, or by at least 19 points. Absolutely pathetic showing by Jesse. Well done to Bryant. Bam Graham was unstoppable. He's your series MVP. Just throw a little stats at you. Bam Graham scored 37 points on 63% true shooting. So really just his regular season average, but still very notable and very good performance. Let's move on. Final series, Hawks versus Bulls. Quite a dramatic series. The Hawks took a load of injuries, which they will be bringing into this next series. Sandro Mamukelashvili and Santi Aldama both will be starting the series as unplayable, I believe. They'll be day-to-day around Game 2 or Game 3. Kyle will have quite a situation to deal with how he sets his game plan over this next day. Calvin Metzger is also injured, but he at least is day-to-day and can be played right from the get-go. So I think the series MVP for this one, this is a tough one. Maybe I'll go with Jason Cartier. The Hawks are a super balanced team. It's not going to be Cartier. I just looked at his stats. They were atrocious. Maybe we'll go with Philip Petrusev. He had a couple good games coming off the bench. Yes, Petrusev averaged 18 points on 66% true shooting. The Hawks are one of the most balanced teams in the game, in the playoffs right now. In fact, they are, injuries aside. So picking series MVPs for them, a little tricky. But Philip Petrusev scored quite well, even if he's not a great defender. All right, so there's your recap. Let's get to the matchups. We got 4 of them. First off, we'll start in the East, go up from the bottom. The Hawks versus the Wizards. I wanted this to be a close, fun series, a really interesting battle of a more top-heavy Wizard squad versus the infinitely balanced Hawks. We're not going to get that. Sandro Mamukelashvili is arguably the Hawks' best player. Is Cartier dead? Is Cartier not dead? It kind of oscillates between the two. I don't love him. He is good and he is playing. Santi Aldama, although he's injured, is another guy who I don't love. But the Hawks have a lot of just these solid players. Chuck McKenzie is fine. He doesn't really score super well. You wish he scored a little better. But the Wizards have proper star players. They have Bam Graham. They have Ricky Trapp. They have Owen Lamb Jr. holding things down on defense. As it stands, normally the Wizards, I would say, probably have the 2 best players, but the Hawks might have the player number 3, 4, and 5 best in the series, but they don't anymore. So this is more about injuries than it is about matchups. Bam Graham is already going to be a hard matchup for the Hawks. They don't have a great star defensive big man. That's only worse by the fact that they don't have the firepower of guys like Aldama and Mamukelashvili to score back against the questionable defense of Bam. So I'm thinking we're going to get a 1-4 in favor of the Wizards. Should we get rid of injuries? Should we not? I don't know. In this case, it sucks. We didn't even get the drama of the pathetic Bulls beating the Hawks. So this one kind of falls a little flat, but I think it also can lead to fantastic drama like the Suns. We would have never gotten that Suns comeback if it wasn't for injuries. So, there's my case for keeping injuries. Look at that Sun series. Okay, get a little water going. Let's get to the next East matchup, the Celtics versus the Raptors. Gasper is the better GM here, but I think I like Marco's team a lot more. The Celtics team, I love Clint Cochran. I I love Cade Cunningham, although he's an interesting player. He's very much a Zach player in the sense that, like, okay, he just cracked 60% true shooting this season, but he's not really built to be an efficient scorer. His three ball is questionable. He loves to take jump shots, but he plays good defense. He rebounds the ball, and he's huge. So Cade is good, but the Raptors squad is nuts. Every time I look at the Raptors squad, I'm like, holy shit, they're so talented. Adam Hilton just had a fantastic series. Adam Hilton was like 62% true shooting. He averaged almost 30 points a game. He's in maybe the best passer in the game. He's a solid, albeit unspectacular defender, and he can even rebound. He's so good. And then they've got Starry, amazing wombo combo scorer defender. And they've got Francis Porter, who is like he's like an all-star quality defender. He's not like an all RBSL or anything, but he's very good. So I think I like the Raptors roster more. All of that being said, Marco has proven nothing in the playoffs ever. He didn't look great against the Magic. I don't see how he's going to beat the Celtics. I think the key matchup is Porter versus Cochran. Porter is like, oh, is he good enough to stop Cochran? He's a little shorter. He's not quite as athletic. He's only got a B in the defense. He's just like, oh, he's just short in every way. I think Cochran is going to win that matchup, and that will be the difference in this series. I think the guards of the Raptors are better than the guards of the Celtics. But I think Cochran is just not going to give a shit about Francis Porter. Francis Porter is like one of those very on the fringe guys in terms of, is he good enough? We'll see if he is. I suspect the Celtics behind Clint Cochran take this one. You know, this could get ugly just because Marco might put together a bad game plan, but I'm thinking we're going to get 4-2. It'll kind of be like the script is flipped on the Raptors compared to their round one, where they just look a little short in firepower, even though they actually have the firepower. It's just Marco doesn't know how to utilize it. But Marco, please prove me wrong. Did someone take Gasper out of the playoffs? Damn. Can't have the Gasper versus Brian every year in the fucking East. Oh my god. But yeah, that's what I'm predicting. The most uninspiring East matchup you've ever seen. Oh, the only two good GMs in the East magically find each other in the Eastern Conference Finals. Shocker. But out West, we're going to have excitement. Next up, the number 2 seed Sonics versus the number 6 seed Rockets. The West was an absolute Shark Tank this season, with basically seeds 2 through 8 being teams that are somewhat evenly matched. There's definitely a statistical gap between the Sonics and the Rockets, but it's not big, and this is all about matchups, and these two teams seem like they're destined to go to 7. I'd say the biggest matchup problem is actually for the Rockets, and it's that they don't have a front court to stop Damon Vogler. They have like Jules Jimenez and King T'Challa and Richard Caldwell, who all have some flaw defensively that Vogler should be able to exploit. Now, the counterpoint to that is Vogler didn't seem interested in shooting the ball at all in the first round. Now, was that because he was against Neemias Queta and Mobley, who are both better defenders than anybody on the Rockets? Or was that because Vogler has some weird problem or there's a game plan issue and he's just not getting the ball? We're going to find out. I think if Vogler can take the shots he's supposed to take, if he can be getting 20 shots a game, oh, this is over. Like, Vogler will average 65% true shooting and he'll go ham. But it appears to not be that simple with Vogler. He's quite the mercurial offensive person. So I think it's going to get dicey. I definitely think this is going to be a 7-game series that will, I'm going to call it for the Sonics because of home court. But the Sonics, for whatever reason, don't seem to quite have their offense ironed out. The Sonics are, even though I'm putting in the series here, I do want to make a couple more points. The Sonics are so good on defense. Like, they did not bend at all to the Zealy-Mobley combo, and it doesn't get much better than that offensively. Now, the Sonics did not take advantage of Zealy at all. Mobley's a great defender, so you're not going to take advantage of that, and that's really where the Sonics are lacking. But, it's not like the Rockets are going to get some career series out of Arden Justice or anybody on their team, I think. That's not how I think the Rockets win. I think the Rockets win because the Sonics offense just cannot figure out how to score on what is a middling defense, right? The Sonics feels like they're only going off against bottom 5 defenses. So I expect there to be fireworks here. This is Vogler's ultimate prove it series. He's had bad playoffs, although sometimes he's had good playoffs and the team has let him down. But last series, there's no question he let the team down. He's going to need to go for 40 plus a couple times, I think, to win this series and maybe reestablish the fact that he is one of the top 3 players in the league because he did not look like it in round 1. Now the Grizzlies and Suns. The Grizzlies are just by far the best team in the league. The Suns are very interesting because it's hard to evaluate them statistically because they added an all-star player halfway or 2/3 of the way through the season. The Suns looked not great against the Nuggets, to be completely honest, and were saved by the bell in a sense, or saved by a random injury. It's weird that an injury made their team better, but it did for that matchup. However, I think they want Happy Gilmore back for this matchup because now the Suns don't have 2 quality guards to defend the 2 guards of the Grizzlies. So I think this is going to be really hard for the Suns. The path to victory for the Suns is through Prince Chapman. The Grizzlies do not have a great front court. They have like mediocre defenders. That's really it. Prince Chapman is a guy who could go for 40, but spreading the ball is tough. So I think what the Suns want is you want Prince Chapman to be getting the most looks, and you want Jason Love matched up against Brian Arroyo because Brian Arroyo is clearly going to score whatever he's going to score, but he's not a good defender. Jalen Suggs could play defense on Love, so will Love start at the point guard or the shooting guard, and can Adam get that matchup? You know, you flip a coin, you see what happens, but that's the path to victory for the Suns is Prince Chapman gets a bunch of looks, and Jason Love goes off because he's against the mediocre defense of Arroyo. All of that being said, the Grizzlies are just better. Happy Gilmore's out. They're like, the guards of the Grizzlies are just going to go for 80 every game. There's no guard defense for the Suns. So because of that, I think this is going to be pretty much an ass whooping. I'm expecting a 4-1 here. You know, the injuries for this one, I already said it, they were worth it. We got the drama of the first series, and now, you know, we'll see if the Suns, maybe they're just better without Happy Gilmore. I think they were better with Happy Gilmore. They just should have switched the point guard and the shooting guard for the last series. But maybe Happy Gilmore is actually just a net negative because he wants the ball too much. This will be a great test of that. Although, even if the Suns play well, I really don't see how they win, even if they get the matchups right. Yeah. So we'll end up in my predictions with the Grizzlies, the 1-2 seed in the East matching up, and then the 1 or the 2-5 seed. Wait, I fucked that up so hard. Let me retry this one more time. We will end up with the 1-2 seed in the West, the Grizzlies against the Sonics, and the Celtics against the Wizards. A very boring East matchup. I've played Adam a bunch in the West too. You know, before I blow it to the Rockets, which is probably likely to happen. But anyways, those are my predictions. Let me know what you think. Are the Grizzlies going to fuck it up? Are the Hawks going to win while they're injured? Maybe they are. Let me know why. Thank you for watching. Stay breezy. Toodles.